Question comes from London with regards to some youngsters who start seeking knowledge for a few years and then put themselves in front of a camera. There's nothing wrong with that. You can sit in front of a camera no matter how old or how young you are. There's nothing wrong with sitting in front of a camera, but what are you doing in front of the camera? What type of camera? What are you saying? What are you doing? That's a different story. Obviously, the question you're going to say is talking about Islam and da'wah and speaking, talking about the religion, which it says. There is no age limit on who can and cannot speak. There is no set level of qualifications who can and cannot speak in front or not in front of a camera. What's important is al-ahliyah, that you are suited for that task. If you do a class, and you did a class on al-usul al-thalatha, the three fundamentals of Islam, you studied the book, you memorized it, you were taught, and you benefited someone else in that, la bas. May Allah reward you well. May Allah bless you. If you sat in front of the camera and you did a class on inheritance, the rules of inheritance, and you studied it and you benefited in a couple of years, if you're young or old, we say what? La bas. But there's bets. Kull al-bets is a big problem if you're sitting in front of the camera and you're not qualified, you're unqualified, and you're old. And most people, they automatically attach age and qualification, which is a ghalat. Hada ghalat. Khata ilmi. Age and experience, age and qualification, sometimes they're attached, but they don't necessarily have to be attached. Everybody understand this? Wudu and salah are attached, but not all of the time. You can make the wudu without making salah. But there's no salah without what? Wudu. So it's nothing wrong with age and qualification, but there's something seriously wrong with old age and lack of qualification. Now obviously there are different ins and outs with regards to the answer, such as if there's someone who is older and more qualified, or someone who's of similar qualification who's older. Everybody understand this? Or someone who has more knowledge and more qualification. That's clear. This person should be put forth. He's more virtuous. He's more experienced. There's no doubt about that. But even with that, we say, this sheikh, this alim, this imam, this student, this da'i, whatever name or title he has, is not going to be there forever. He's not going to live forever. And there isn't a wise man or a great man who has a talent and a skill and a legacy, except that he has a what? A legacy. He has to pass it on to someone else. He has to give the baton to the next Olympian. Everybody understand this? Because he's not going to be there all the time. I can't keep running. Like you said, my knees get old, get weak. And it has to be a suitable successor. So if you talk about martial arts, like we talk about martial arts, whatever your martial art is, there isn't a great master of martial arts except that he's known by his what? His students. His students. And sometimes he has his place, whether it's a dojo or other than that, he says, you teach the class. You show them. You instruct them. He's still learning. He's better. He's older. He's more experienced. But you need time in. Apprenticeship, disciplism, tutelage. And a part of you learning is actually doing it in front of my presence. So there's no one ruling that is haram. You can't sit in front of a camera because you're young. You can't talk about the religion because you're young. No. As long as you're qualified, and as long as you're not disrespecting and taking the right of someone else. Everybody understand this or not? Now, last but not least, before we stop, two more things. First is, I'm not saying this about the questioner, I don't know the questioner, but we know for sure, I can tell you from my brief life, for sure, with total certainty, most people who say this and talk like this have ulterior motives. And they have personal gain in asking a question like this. And they say, why are you teaching? Why are you talking? You're too young. You're this and you're that. It's not because they're jealous for the deen. It's not because it's against the sunnah. And when they see something against the sunnah, it makes their blood boil. Oh, I can't stand the fact of someone going against the kitab and the sunnah and the way to salaf. No, that's a lie. But it's oftentimes jealousy. And it's oftentimes ego. You're younger than me, Ismail. You are naturally born with more talent than I was. It took me 10 years to study and master this. You took it in a year. So I'm jealous. I'm envious. I'm upset. You have the drive, the initiative. You are not afraid and scared to be in front of people and teach what's mandatory. I do, and I am. So therefore, I have to pull you down. And I have to mask my jealousy, because jealousy is clearly ugly, as we say. Rear your ugly head, green-eyed monster. Even culturally, jealousy and envy is a bad thing. It's looked down upon. So no one is going to accept it openly and outwardly. It's like somebody who stinks. You don't take a shower, don't put on deodorant, but just spray a bunch of cologne and perfume. So perhaps you don't get the full width of my stench. So I have to mask my envy through an Islamic way. So in order for me to get what I want out of Ismail, because I'm jealous, because I'm envious, because he's much better than me, he's younger than me, he's more handsome than me, he's faster than me, he's better than me, I have to mask it and say, oh, he's going against the way of the Salaf. Imam Ahmed said, Sufyan al-Thawri said, Fulan said, I wouldn't give a fatwa to 100 ulama, and so on and so on and so forth. So why are you even talking then? Why are you even trying to give the class? Why are you even on the minbar if you have so much piety? Many brothers, they make this mistake. They go to a Q&A session, a Q&A panel, and it says, no, I don't want to talk, I don't want to talk. So why are you sitting on the panel? If you have that much piety and righteousness, where should you sit? Sit in the crowd. But if you want to sit in a place, then fulfill the amana, do the responsibility. So don't mask and hide weakness or jealousy or envy through the way of the Salaf. That's evil and that's vile. And that's what many of us do today. So what's important is that you're qualified and you know what you're doing. That's it. Should you spend more time studying and less time teaching in the beginning? No doubt. Humble yourself. Empty your cup. Learn. Benefit. Suck up everything that you can. Because the time is going to come when you don't have the time to read and study and memorize. So get it while it's good. Get it while you can. And then bidnai ta'ala, if the day comes when you need it, you'll be called upon. Don't rush. But it doesn't mean that it's haram and disliked and against the way of the ulama to do that. And you read many biographies of the ulama, they were young when they taught. Imam al-Bukhari was 18 years old when he wrote his first book. 18. Sufyan al-Thawri, you read his biography. He used to give fatwa. He used to have a majlis and he didn't have a wrinkle on his face. So just like you quote him saying, I didn't teach until I was 50, 60, and 80. Then the other athar clearly said that those who are qualified and clearly talented, they did it as well. So stop the game, stop the joke. If you're evil and envious, billah, then go and hide. Go lock yourself in your closet. Don't come outside. Don't rear your ugly fangs upon the people. Don't be jealous. You see a good young brother, a young sister that has talent, you should be happy that they have the ability and the courage to teach the people and spread the good word. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, if it's something which is fard kifaya, that the Muslims do as a whole, and someone does it, he says that it's mandatory for you to be happy when you see somebody doing it. يجب أن يفرح بمن يقوم بهذه الكفاية. أو كما قال رحمه الله, he says, if you can't do it, then it's obligatory for you to be happy that someone is doing it. Just stop and think about this now. I can't teach, I can't do the classes, but Ismail can. I'm supposed to be happy, alhamdulillah. Maybe Ismail, maybe Khalid, maybe Saleh, maybe these brothers are the du'as that we made 10 and 20 years ago, maybe. And not, oh, he's too young, he doesn't have a beard, why is he teaching, why is he the imam, why is he taking the people's spot, he's disrespecting fulan, astaghfirullah, he shouldn't be doing that, he's too young. What type of speech is this? What's in your heart, ya akhi? The Sahaba that carried Islam to the next generation were the youth, the youngsters. So be careful and beware. Last but not least, a brief personal story. It was years ago in Medina, and obviously we all know, alhamdulillah, things change. You develop, you mature, you learn, you benefit, you see, you come, you go. Well, alhamdulillah, I can say that. And there are countless brothers who came before me that aren't around, and they didn't make it. Walillah alhamd. What's important is, years ago, some brothers, they asked me to do a lecture. And they asked for me to do a telelink. Not to translate, but to actually do a lecture in my home in Medina for a masjid in the United States. I won't mention the city or the town or the brothers. So me, being stupid, young, foolish, pure-hearted, I said, Tayyib, Bismillah, why not? So there was another brother who was much older. I can't necessarily say of Arabian or Arabic ancestry, but he was from a land in which they spoke Arabic, and the average person would call him an Arab or Arab. So he saw the flyer, what the brother was telling me, he says, Mufti, I'm in there. I'm like, telling me? He's like, no, he's going to speak, he's going to give a talk. The brother's like, a telling? Isn't he in Medina? We just left him out. He said, no, he's going to give a talk from there. He's like, no, guys, we can't do this. A student of knowledge cannot give a telelink. A student of knowledge is not supposed to give a talk. Only the ulama, the mashaykh, they give talks from long distance. Student of knowledge, he should translate, and that's it. So the brother was running the masjid. He called me and he contacted me. This is a true story. Both brothers are alive. You can ask them if you don't believe me. All Hizbis lie. This is a true story. You can verify it if you don't believe it. The brother, he called me and he told me what the brother said. And he felt a little disturbed. He said he didn't agree with him. And he thought that the brother had some type of jealousy. So I said, all right, no problem. You don't want me to do the talk? I won't do the talk. He said, no, Mufti, no. We're not scared, we're not afraid. But, is he right? Or how can you help us out to, fight what this guy is saying? I said, no problem. I said, let me call some of the mashaykh and let's see what they have to say and what they have to think. I called 2 mashaykh. I won't mention their names. Both of them picked up the phone. I told them the situation. One of them said, this is the only thing he said. I said, Sheikh is a talib al-ilm who wants to give a talk. He's not going to translate. The Sheikh said the following words. He said, Jazakallah khair. May Allah reward him well. Do you got time to answer these silly, stupid questions? I'm reading and researching and writing books. You want to ask me about this? He said, Jazakallah khair. That's it. May Allah reward the young student who's doing the telelink for his people in America. That's all he said. Called another one of the mashaykh and I told him what happened. The first thing he said, who is it? He says, is it you? I said, yeah, Sheikh. He says, why didn't you say that? I said, I didn't want to, He says, you? He said, Khalas. Where's the rule that only a scholar can do a telelink? So this guy in America who wasn't from the ulama, who's barely a student of knowledge, if that, I want to go too deep. If he's barely a student of knowledge, he never studied nowhere formally, for some reason, one reason or another, he thought that he's dominant and everybody else is inferior and weaker and lesser than him. And the people that he's claiming to follow and love and respect and be upon their way, they're saying what? The total opposite of what he's saying. So that's what's important. Wallahu a'lam.